Hi, I'm Barb Malera. I'm with Harvesting History, an upstate New York heirloom horticultural company. We specialize in heirloom seeds, in flowers and tubers and bulbs that are also of heirloom quality, and also classic tools and gardening equipment. Today we're going to talk about forcing bulbs, because this is the time of the year, the bitter cold of January, where you're wishing and wishing and wishing spring would come. So let's put a little spring in your homes, and let me show you how to do this. Forcing bulbs is actually an ancient practice that began in the 1700s, when they discovered that hyacinth bulbs actually had the undeveloped blossom within the bulb, and if the hyacinth bulb was treated with a little bit of cold and then brought into a warm area, that it would actually bloom way earlier than it normally would. Many bulbs can be forced in soil, but a few bulbs can also be forced in water. The most important thing to remember is that, with the exception of paperwhites, all bulbs need to be cold treated before they will bloom. They need to be either refrigerated or buried in soil for a minimum of 10 to 13 weeks. All of the bulbs that you can purchase now at Harvesting History have been cold treated. They've been refrigerated at 40 degrees for a period of 13 weeks. So if you come to our website and purchase bulbs, they've already had the cold treatment. You don't need to do that. Bulbs that are fairly easy to force in soil include tulips and hyacinths and narcissus. But you can also force crocus, you can force iris reticulatas, you can force pushkinias, and a lot of other different spring bulbs. But the easiest ones are the tulips and the hyacinths and the daffodils. Today we're going to use this 8-inch pot to plant some narcissus, and then these narcissus can be forced because they've already been cold treated. So I've lined the bottom with a little bit of soil. It can be topsoil, it does not have to be fancy soil. The cheapest soil you can get at a local nursery. The first thing we're going to do, now that I've lined the bottom of this pot with some soil, is to add some bone meal. This will nourish these bulbs as they make their way to blossoms. So I've added roughly 1/4 of a cup. By the time the pot is filled with soil, we will have added a total of 3/4 of a cup of bone meal. And then I'm going to just mix it around very lightly. And then I'm going to begin to place these narcissus bulbs. All right, so I'm going to set about 6 of these bulbs in the bottom of this pot. And now this is a forcing bulbs secret that came straight from one of the geniuses at the Philadelphia Flower Show that always used to win first prize in the forced bulbs section. So we've got 1 layer of these bulbs, and now we're going to cover them, and we're going to set in a 2nd layer of bulbs. Okay, I've covered the first layer of bulbs with some soil. Now I'm going to sprinkle another 1/4 of a cup of bone meal, and then I'm going to place the rest of these narcissus in the pot. Beautiful, beautiful big pistachio narcissus this year. Then what I'm going to do is cover these narcissus with a little bit more soil and a little bit more of the bone meal. Okay, now we've set all of the narcissus in the pot. We've covered the top row of narcissus with some soil. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit more narcissus sugar, commonly known as bone meal. Gently, just sort of sprinkle it. Pat it down, just very gently. And these guys are ready to go. Now, if you had purchased bulbs at the beginning of the season, sometime in the early fall, you would have to take your pot with the bulbs in it now and put it in the refrigerator for 10 to 13 weeks. But if you purchase bulbs from Harvesting History now, in the month of January or February, we have already cold treated the bulbs for you. And all you need to do is put them in a pot, as I've just shown you, and give them a little bit of water, and in about 3 to 4 weeks, they should begin to bloom for you. What more can you ask on a freezing cold day than to take a look at the beautiful colors that you can get from forced bulbs?